Hi there, GoodGolf here and welcome back to the second installment of this tutorial series on running a dedicated game server for your Unity game. This time we'll spend some time on setting up a Linux game server on Azure. I will be showing you some basic tips and tricks to get your own effort jump-started and prevent you from making some of the common mistakes. This video will show how to set up a server in Azure. However, you can run similar steps if you want to host your server in Amazon's AWS or the Google Cloud. The obvious prerequisite for following these steps is to create an Azure account and a pay-as-you-go subscription. Note that if this is your first time setting up an Azure account, you may be entitled to some free credits. So, look around on the Microsoft site to get these credits before jumping in head first. Okay, after logging in, I go to the Virtual Machines section and start Create a VM. I'm picking a Linux server based on Ubuntu 20 and then select a standard D2S v3 machine. As you can see, these come at a monthly cost which, depending on your game development plans, may be cheap or expensive. Be aware that these cost estimates are for running it 24/7 for a whole month. To cut costs during development, we only use a fraction of the plan, say a couple of hours a day. I will show in the next video how we are going to achieve that. When creating the VM, select these options. Create a new resource group, or if you are creating multiple VMs, collect them in a single resource group. Use the SSH public key authentication type. Pick a username which is not the default admin, so you up your cybersecurity a little bit. Allow the SSH port for remote access. Select an auto shutdown timer. This is a cost-saving feature. Set it to a time after you typically stop your development. This way the machine shuts down when you forget, which is bound to happen once in a while. When you create the VM, the SSH key is generated and downloaded to your local PC. When you install the Putty client for SSH connections, it also installs a Putty key generation utility. You will need it to convert the downloaded key to a .ppk file. Next you open Putty and create a new configuration. You need to get the connection details from your VM in Azure. You can take these from the VM dashboard page. The most important one is the DNS name of your server. In the configuration you also need to link the ppk file you just created in the Credentials tab. Also, I recommend to change the window settings to change the size of the font whenever you change the Putty window size. This will be helpful when you connect on a Full HD or 4K screen, unless you have eagle eyes. You can now use this profile to connect to the server, and you will just need to type the admin name you used in the VM creation page. Use it to log in. In order to easily copy files to the server, I recommend installing WinSCP. Just download it, install it and follow the setup instructions. When you run it, it will offer to import the configuration from Putty, which will make the server connection available without any effort. The next step is to get your Linux server up and running properly. After logging in, you will need to go through a couple of steps. I will create a page on my GitHub writing down each of the steps to make it easier for you to run these commands at your own pace. Update Linux with sudo apt update and upgrade. Set up the Ubuntu Firewall. Enable it and allow the ports used by SSH and your fishnet server, which defaults to UDP port 7770. Don't forget port 22 for SSH. I made that rookie mistake, and upon disconnecting my SSH session, the server was lost forever, because I couldn't connect to it anymore. I had to delete it and start from scratch. Now I use the WinSCP tool to copy the Linux build I created in the previous video to the server. I copied it to my /home directory, but you may want to check the video I linked in the description to find a more appropriate folder. Once the build has been uploaded, connect to the server again. The next step is crucial for the game to start automatically when we start the server. We need to create a service for startup. Use the nano editor to create a service file for the system daemon. Type or copy the lines, copy using the right mouse button, into the file and make it point to a run server script which will run your game executable. We'll dive into the script in a minute. Now use the system control commands to reload the service files and start the service. Note, when you want to upload a new version of your game, you can stop the service with the stop command. Note that I forgot to make the game executable. Make the Unity game application executable by using the chmod +x command. The script we used in the service is basically a bash script which will pass on some parameters to the game executable as command line arguments. Remember from the first video that we want to be flexible in telling it what game scene to run and what port to use. I also added some code to let it know what IP address it is running on. That will be useful for the Azure functions in the next video. By using this script, we can create a new service file for each instance of the game server we want to run on this VM. The more powerful the VM you select on creation, the more game servers it can run in parallel. You can just add another service and change the parameters in the service file to run another scene at another listening port. One final note, you will also need to open up the game ports on Azure in the server's network security group. This is how you do that. Go to the security group and add an inbound security rule for the 7770 fishnet port. As you can see, port 2020 is already opened up. If you also want to be able to ping your server, then you will need to open up port 330 as ICMP version 4.2. Okay, these are the basic steps to get your server up and running. In the next video, we'll make a few more tweaks to allow an Azure function to start and stop the server by code. This is it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up.